In 1990, while waiting on a London-bound train from Manchester, J.K. Rowling had an idea for a story. 7 years on, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was published. Now with over 600 million copies sold and an ongoing multi-billion-dollar franchise. The rest, as they say, is history. We are here to count down our top 10 Harry Potter movie moments. So Wingardiam Leviosa. First, here are 10 Potter facts. Press the button right, okay. The first batch of Hogwarts I knew I'd fuck it up right straight away. The first batch of Hogwarts acceptance letters that the props team created were too heavy for the owls to carry. This oversight meant that they had to rewrite thousands of them by hand.
I think we're going to need another feather over here, Professor.
In a bid to keep the films as true as possible to the books, the producers tried to give Daniel Radcliffe green eyes. Unfortunately, Daniel had an allergic reaction to the green contact lenses and couldn't wear them. They also tried to give Hermione buck teeth, but Emma Watson couldn't say her lines properly while she was wearing them, so they didn't last long.
Alas, earwax.
Did you ever notice any similarities between the young Tom Riddle in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince and Voldemort? That's because they're related. That's right, Hero Fiennes Tiffin, who played young Tom Riddle, is Ralph Fiennes' nephew.
That was very wrong indeed, boys. Very wrong of you.
And number 4, the casting team suggested that J.K. Rowling played the part of Harry's mother, Lily Potter, in the films. Rowling turned it down as she didn't think she was cut out to be an actor.
Broken? There's no bones left.
Oh, nose. Press the wrong one. 5. The fourth instalment, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, was almost the fourth and fifth instalments in the Harry Potter movies, but director David Yates decided not to split the movies.
Nose down, Harry.
Number 6. The late actor Alan Rickman, who portrayed the potions teacher Severus Snape, was told some special secrets ahead of time so he could portray his character in a more nuanced and informed way.
There's no such thing as magic.
At first, Arthur Weasley was slated to die in Order of the Phoenix, but J.K. Rowling changed her mind.
The wand chooses the wizard, Mr. Potter.
Number 8. Actor Tom Felton auditioned for the role of Harry himself, and for that matter, he also auditioned to play Ronald Weasley and ended up as Malfoy.
Let the feast begin.
There are rumours that Daniel Radcliffe broke a lot of props during filming, mostly wands. Some sources said it was even between 60 and 100.
She needs to sort out her priorities.
And finally, Steven Spielberg was originally signed on to direct. However, he wanted the movie to be animated, with Haley Joel Osment voicing the role of Harry, and producers didn't agree to it.
Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Leviosa. So here we are, top 10 Harry Potter movie moments, and we are here with Doug Simpson.
Hello, mate.
How you doing?
Always with the Simpsons intro. Love it.
I need to get to the time so I can actually record it properly and have it as a proper jingle, so we can just play it instead of me having to sing it. You know.
Oh yeah, yes, please do. I'll make that my text message ringtone. People still do those. How are you? You good?
I'm good. How are you? Now, as we record this, we were just talking before we started that Doug is a Newcastle United fan, and we've got you've got a couple of sort of like a couple of stressful weeks coming up because my team is playing your team in the League Cup final of soccer, as people say over the pond, but in football. So. How are you feeling about that? Is it squeaky bum time for you at the moment, Doug?
Yes, it is. I'm looking forward to it. The way we got past Arsenal in the semi-final was stunning. I actually went to the second leg.
Oh, did you?
And it was probably the best atmosphere I've ever been in. It was sort of electric, and just sort of really enjoyed that. And we played really well. We were great. But then we've just played crap ever since. So, it's nervous. And, we'll see how the next few games go. A couple of years ago when we were in the League Cup final, I feel like a similar thing happened. It was all the ended in the build-up and I ended up losing the final. But then when we didn't have anything to be scared of anymore, we started playing well again. So, and got into the Champions League. So if we're going to do that again, fine. Top 4, please, and maybe a trophy.
I've just realised that by the time this actually goes out, the final would have already happened.
Oh, okay.
So what we should do is I should go, congratulations, Doug, on your team winning the League Cup. Well done.
Thank you very much. It's an honour. I loved it that we beat them.
Good. And then also, commiserations, mate. It's a shame, but the best team had to win. And commiserations for the League Cup.
Thank you. What?
We've covered all the bases there, haven't we? So I can quickly go in and edit it back into whatever the result is.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Like I said to you before, I'm in a no-lose situation. So either my favourite team wins or kind of my second favourite team wins, and it's about time that Newcastle actually did win a trophy. Because when was it? When was the last one?
Oh, 50s. Yeah,
50s.
Yeah.
It's about time.
It's longer than England winning the World Cup, and a hell of a lot of other things. So, yeah, it's time. But to be fair, you guys are out of the FA Cup, so maybe we've got even though we're miles away from the final, we've probably got a slightly better chance of getting to that. And with you guys not being there, maybe actually winning it. Although, again, by the time this is released, we'll have been knocked out at home.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Yeah. Okay, right. Now, if my memory serves me right, this was actually, you messaged me with the idea for this one.
Yeah, I think we were going to do something Harry Potter related. I think maybe we talked about characters, top 10 characters, but I know you do a lot with moments from certain films. And I think that's a much better way to go. Honestly, I think I've found it a little bit easier to choose moments than characters.
Oh, really?
There are just so many in the Harry Potter franchise, so many characters. A top 20 would even have been hard, and a top 10 kind of heartbreaking. Whereas putting this together, there's 2 or 3 that were like, these are locked in. And then a few have sort of delved in and out. There's a few moments that I've written loads of notes on and then canned. What one I sort of got rid of today. For another moment that I've not really written much about at all, because I just expect it to flow out emotionally.
Okay.
So yeah, fun to put together as always.
So where does the Harry Potter movie franchise sort of sit with you in regards to all of your other kind of things that you love in movies?
I've been thinking about this a lot. It's very unique to me and my family. Remember going to see it at the cinema, the first one, a few times. And how special that was. And I can actually just about remember seeing all 8 of the films in the cinema, something about it. I remember seeing Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets with family. In fact, I can't remember what birthday party it was. My mum and dad, bless them, dressed up as Professor McGonagall and Hagrid and, put on a massive spread. And I think took like me and 9 friends on the bus into town to the cinema. And it was absolutely epic. I got to dress as Harry, of course. And
were they dressed at the cinema?
They were dressed at the cinema, yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah, and took us on the bus. It was my 30th. No, it wasn't. So and then later on, sort of seeing it at the cinema with friends at school, and then the finale, part 2, Deathly Hallows, seeing the midnight screening, because I don't think they were really a thing anyway. Midnight screenings, how people sort of did that with Force Awakens and Avengers.
Yeah.
I don't know if there were always midnight screenings of Harry Potter, like in the early noughties. Was that a thing?
Well, I can remember going to see the Phantom Menace in 97? Was Phantom Menace something like that? 97, 99?
99, I think, yeah.
But it wasn't a midnight showing then. I just strolled in like 11 o'clock in the morning and they were showing it. So I don't think it was a kind of thing then. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's always been midnight showings, but it was weird how they became a massive thing, didn't they?
They kind of did, and I feel. I mean, I don't know if you'd the same. I saw Deadpool, Wolverine at midnight.
Oh, did you?
But I feel like a lot of the Marvel films, there's a lot less of that. Like, I don't know how many people would have queued up to see Brave New World at midnight. For example.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I did it for all the sequel trilogies, and then for Rise of Skywalker, I actually went and watched. They showed all 3 films, but they timed it so that the Rise of Skywalker you saw at midnight, so the other 2 were like on earlier on in the night, and came out of that thinking,
what have you done?
Time that was.
Yeah, I remember you not being too happy. I didn't realize you put yourself through that before. I mean, I like Force Awakens, and I've been thinking about the the Fantastic Beasts prequels. That have come out since, and I feel like they've kind of suffered a similar fate to the Star Wars sequels. I think the first Fantastic Beasts is solid, really decent, and it's a new story. It's in New York, so it's a new setting. Same director, I think, but new characters and everything. So it's not like a carbon copy. Sorry, J.J. Abrams of what came before it. But then again, exactly the same thing. Like they didn't know what they were doing next. They were just like writing as they go and just sort of cobbling it together. And it was meant to be 5 films, but now I think based on the end of Secrets of Dumbledore, they've just about wrapped it up fairly tidily. But also Secrets of Dumbledore, they're making up for a lot of messy things that happened in the second film. And where have we seen that before?
Yeah, and you also had the old Johnny Depp of it all as well, where he got sort of got cancelled kind of thing, didn't he? But so where do you stand on the? Because see, I've kind of got away from Harry Potter. I used to really get, because my wife loved it, and the kids obviously all loved it. I could never get over the fact that the first couple of movies, I can't watch them now, because I mean it's no disrespect to the kids, but it's kids acting, and it's just bad. It's just bad acting, and there are certain bits in all of the movies that just make me cringe. And it's not even. It's just the way that they sort of. The 2 Weasley brothers, there's
the twins.
The bits when they do something and they sort of go, oh, it's just a bit cringy. And I don't know, it could be an age thing, you know what I mean? But Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2, as anybody that knows me, I'm not a book reader. And I read that book. I remember used to be on night shift at Honda when I used to work there. And I read all the book, and the scene in the forest, and when, spoilers, when Dobby dies, I was
what?
Yeah, I was. I was in bits, and I thought that they did the right thing in splitting that movie into 2 movies. So they gave it time 100%. To breathe, and they didn't squeeze like they did with all the other books. They sort of squeezed bits and left bits out. And I think Deathly Hallows 1 and 2, I think, are great movies. They're really, maybe not up there with Infinity War and Endgame, but as a 1-2 punch to finish because it felt like there were real things at stake.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, I love those as well. And the Deathly Hallows Part 2, if you go on IMDb, that's the highest rated. I think it's the only one that's actually over an 8. I think Prisoner of Azkaban comes in just below. I mean, my kind of golden era is Prisoner of Azkaban and Goblet of Fire.
Right.
And I just kind of see them more as films as their own thing. And I think the fact that they've each got one director, and that was the one and only film. So you've got Alfonso Cuarón and Mike Newell, effectively. Really kind of like their takes on it. And then the second half of the franchise, still love it. But it's the same director, and then just not that much changes. But I can see why they did that. I think, a new director every film, 3 through to 8 would have been chaos. And so I see why they needed to do that. And I think with every single one, especially Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix, because they're the longest books, Order of the Phoenix could have been a trilogy if they were to, keep everything that was in the books. Could have been like a 3-2-hour film trilogy. And I mean, they're going to explore that, aren't they? The series. This today was really well timed, because at time of recording, I just read this morning that John Lithgow is going to play Dumbledore, which I think is great.
Yeah. Although I was seeing an interview, because he was doing a podcast interview with someone, and they spoke to him about it, and he was saying that, like, yes, he's going to do it. But he's going to be 87 at the wrap party when they finish, because it's 1 book per season, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
And I think that's great, because, like you say, they don't have to leave anything out. It can be really, really detailed. But there's so many things. Like, the music is iconic. Hogwarts is iconic. It makes you think, are they gonna? They can't keep the same music. They can't. They must be doing something that's going to be slightly different. So it's going to feel really, really weird because everybody's got all these images in their head of who Harry Potter is, and I hope and pray they don't start going woke and it's, you know, and it's a diverse cat. And again, when you start saying that, then people start saying, oh, you're being racist. No, I just want it to be like it is in the book. And I think it's going to be really, really interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting.
Well, just on that note, I mean, so like 10 episodes, 7 series per book, but then obviously the middle books are the longest.
Yeah.
And Philosopher's Stone is like, you know, what, a quarter, a fifth of that. So then it makes you think, was the Philosopher's Stone series going to be dragged out like The Hobbit, and they're still going to be squeezing Goblet of Fire in? And then will they think, oh, Christ, actually, Goblet of Fire needs to be 2 series? You know, I think Game of Thrones kind of maybe went that way a little bit, like sort of divvying up. I mean, well, Game of Thrones got completely lost from the books, as we know. And then you think, will it go down that way because of who's writing it? And then also, I mean, the like you say, the music and the cast, so irreplaceable. And obviously, it was a thing that there was no American actors in the films that we're talking about tonight. And the first big cast member that's been announced is John Lithgow, who's American, who will throw himself into it and be, you know, amazing. And also, the kind of jury seems to be out. General consensus is that the next ideal Snape would be Adam Driver, so another American. And yeah, like spread that out. You know, great British actors who've played American roles and vice versa. You know, John Lithgow's already played Winston Churchill.
That's right.
And he's also Lord Farquaad.
That's right.
He's always been able to throw himself into anything and have fun with it. Like
but I think Adam Driver can do that. Adam Driver can do that as well, because he was the best thing in the sequel trilogy.
100%.
The fact that he took it all. Like he was, I've said it before, like he's playing Shakespeare.
Yeah.
You know,
stunning.
And I watched, did you ever see the SNL skit of him doing Undercover Boss as Kylo Ren? No. I'll put it in the video play. It is so good because, again, he is playing it dead straight. But it's a Saturday Night Live sketch where he becomes this like mechanic called Matt, and he's got this blonde wig on, and he's going round to all the people on the Death Star or on the Starkiller base and saying, "What do you think of Kylo Ren?" It's so funny, but he does it with like I love Adam Driver. I think he's such a great actor. He just is. He just seems like somebody that he can take the piss out of himself more than anything else, you know. And I love that. Sorry, you were saying.
Well, no, I'd agree. I think he'd be a bit. I mean, and think like Marriage Story. He's done all sorts. I'm just going back to John Lithgow. One of my annual Christmas watches. Well, I mean, one is probably Harry Potter, to be fair. Yeah. But another is the Santa Claus the movie. So not the Santa Claus trilogy. You know, the one from the 80s.
Yeah. Well, with Dudley Moore.
Yeah. And but I think John Lithgow is the best thing in that. You know, he's in a Christmas film. He's a villain. He just goes in and he's hilarious the entire time he's on screen. And yeah, I think it'd be great. But yeah, I mean, it's the age thing. Because I mean, who else was linked? I mean, Mark Rylance was linked with it, who's quite a bit younger. I mean, I have my. We've talked about football a little bit. I have my fantasy football team. I feel like you could have like your fantasy Harry Potter reboot cast.
I was going to ask you that because the other one that I saw, somebody I said this on the last episode or an episode before. It was only a couple of months ago that I realised that Jared Harris was Richard Harris's son.
Same.
And somebody said to him, you know, would you take the Dumbledore role? And he went, oh no. Why? Why would I do that? And he was like, because Richard Harris was Dumbledore. It'd be a perfect sort of lineage, you know, of you being Dumbledore. But again, Richard Harris, and then he was changed to Michael Gambon. So I mean, if you know, I don't want to wish it on anybody, but you know, if something happened to John Lithgow,
they'll have to recast it and go.
They'd have to recast it again, or maybe it would be a thing that's what happens with Dumbledore. He's like the Phoenix, you know. He goes away and then reinvents himself and becomes, you know, like Doctor Who and becomes somebody else.
Well, I mean, Jared Harris said something along the lines of, you know, the films are perfect. Why change them? And it makes you think if he's maybe saying that as a fan, is that how other actors feel about it because it'd be a really interesting project to do. Fucking big paycheck.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Maybe that is what kind of splits it up. And I think John Lithgow's kind of said that it might be kind of his like last hurrah, his last big role.
Yeah.
He's too old to. He's had so much fun in his career. He doesn't need a Hugh Grant phase, so to speak. Where he's doing like Wonka and Paddington 2.
Yeah.
It's a massive role. But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great, and I think as more cast members, get added, that'll just be what creates the hype around it. Because ultimately, it's going to be same again, where you've got Harry, Ron, Hermione, Malfoy. They're just going to be kids, aren't they?
Yeah.
Unless I don't know, like Neil the baby from Gavin and Stacey. In fact, to be honest, I mean, he's 17. He's too old as well. So yeah, it's going to be people we don't know, but maybe they can act. That'd be nice.
It's going to be interesting. It really is. Before we carry on anymore, we've got to do this.
Lisa's challenge.
What the fuck are you saying?
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, now this is going to be a bit weird because, like you say, there are literally thousands of different moments. So the chance that we're going to get a lot the same. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to. You tell me how many you think we're going to get duplicates.
Well, I think, I've known you for a long time. We're both, big film geeks and can be kind of soppy. So there's one or two that I think might, that are kind of a bit teary that we might both land on. But then there's quite a lot of teary scenes. So, we might just go for that as part of our list, but have different ones. I think maybe 3.
Okay, that's a good shout, actually.
Well, you can't have it.
No, I know. That is a good shout. So I'm going to...
You can have the League Cup, but you can't have 3 in Lisa's challenge.
I'm going to go 4.
Okay.
Which, to be honest, a Liverpool fan and a Newcastle fan, if it's 4-3, that's the score it should be.
Oh,
because what amazing games we've had where the score has been 4-3.
Yeah, maybe tonight, maybe
tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe tonight. Collymore closing in. Oh God,
dearie me.
There's a lot of our American listeners are thinking, "What the hell are they talking about?" We've got no idea. Okay, so you've gone for 3. I've gone for 4. So Doug, give us your number 10.
Okay, my number 10 is Harry flies on Buckbeak from Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay,
so that's not in yours.
No.
All right, then. That's okay. Wait, so you've gone 4, I've got 3. So I actually don't want us to match. Okay.
No.
Not being competitive at all in tonight's theme. So, like briefly mentioned it earlier, Prisoner of Azkaban has a new director. And not for the first time, I think, we kind of see a reboot of Hogwarts. So a little bit earlier, we've seen a little songbird, I think, sort of flying through the grounds, and the camera follows it right into the Whomping Willow. And it gets splattered, but that tracking scene, you're following it, so you're seeing all these new shots of Hogwarts, and it's just sort of establishing it. Because the scenes before that are in the dark, and they're quite scary because there's Dementors and there's that choir singing "Toil and Trouble," which I still think is weird, but whatever. But what this scene does, and I'm already in a good mood going into it because Hagrid's making a success of himself, and I love Hagrid. But yeah, and it's got a brilliant score. It's John Williams, of course it has. There's a big drum roll at the start as he starts sort of charging and flies in. And then a new song from John Williams as well, a beautiful score where he's flying all over Hogwarts. And you can see in one of the frames, you can see the tower that Sirius gets, held in. So it's sort of setting that up for later on, because obviously that's a new bit, and that probably doesn't appear again, to be fair. I knew what that was going to look like before the film, thanks to Lego.
Oh, right.
And so, yeah, he's sort of flying around, and then he goes down to the lake, and there's all these shots of not just the castle, but the gorgeous mountains and everything in Hogwarts surroundings. And Buckbeak, dips his hoof in the lake, and Harry just gets his confidence, and he sits up and puts his arms out. That's his Rose and Leo Titanic moment.
Yeah.
And he's just buzzing. And it's just really one that sort of warms me up when I watch it, no matter how many times. And it's important because in Philosopher's Stone, there's the scene when he first rides a broom, which is, massive. He's a Quidditch player and whatnot. And that the magic of him first flying a broom you don't really get because he's too busy trying to fuck Malfoy off.
Yeah.
And rescue Neville's Remroll. So the magic of him first riding a broom was kind of lost. So it's really nice that they did that because obviously, I mean, in the book, yeah, he gets on a hippogriff, but I think he's terrified, to be honest. Whereas they made that like his first flying scene. And I think what they missed a trick by when he's thinking of happy thoughts for his Patronus, he could have said that. And maybe it was just a bit too clunky. Like the first time I rode a broom or the first time I flew over a lake like Leo and Kate and Leo on a hippogriff. But yeah, I think it's just a really lovely moment. So that's my number 10.
That's a great one. I was going to say before we actually got into our top 10s that the one thing it's really weird because the whole sort of political thing about J.K. Rowling, which again is one of those things, do you separate the artist from the art and all that kind of stuff? I don't give a shit about that kind of stuff because when it comes to something like Harry Potter, you've got to give J.K. Rowling such credit for the world building that she did because it is so detailed that, you know, even things to like the rules of Quidditch and every single thing has got a purpose and a meaning, you know, whether it's spells, whether it's just the things in Diagon Alley and I love that. I mean, that's why I love Star Wars, because it was like a whole new world where you've got new species and new things and greebles and bits and pieces that are there, and they're there for a specific reason. And that's what I love about Harry Potter. I'm going to say now, I'm not a massive Harry Potter fan, but if you like, I've been very lucky enough to go to the Harry Potter world, you know, at Disney World.
Oh yeah.
And just walking along there, you feel like you're in Diagon Alley. It's amazing. It is one of those places that you sort of go, I'm not in a theme park now. I'm here. Yeah. I'm actually in the world of Harry Potter. And it is fantastic.
Yeah, oh no, I'd love to go. I can only imagine. I mean, my sister for my birthday got sort of pledged for us to go to Harry Potter Studios,
right?
And we've still not done it. But I just
have you not?
That will absolutely
again.
Yeah,
that is. I've been 2 or 3 times. The first time I went, I bought tickets for my wife and all the kids. We got in the car, drove down, got to the car park. I looked at the tickets, and we were a day early.
Oh wow! So
I could not
had a nice wander around Watford.
That's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we did. I could not believe it. You know you get those moments where all of a sudden your spine just goes cold. I think I must have printed them off, and I looked, and I went, "That's not today. That date isn't today." And I phoned them up and said, "Is there any chance we could transfer them to the following day?" They said, "No, I'm sorry, we're completely sold out."
Well, yeah,
I could not. I had to tell my kids, like, we're going to have to drive away and come back the following day. So we had to go. We went into Watford. I think I bought everybody tea or lunch or whatever. I just felt like such a dick. I could not.
Forfeit.
I could not believe it. And the weird thing was, when me and my wife went to Belfast last year and did the Game of Thrones stuff, we got to the Game of Thrones thing. I looked at the tickets and we were a day late. And I couldn't believe it. I said to my wife,
"How old were your kids for the Harry Potter?"
Oh, they must have been like in the teens.
Oh, so you can't just tell them Dobby's cast a spell on the
No. They just all realised I was a complete fucking dick. They must have. I mean, they all laughed. I mean, my missus couldn't stop laughing, and I just thought, what an idiot, absolute idiot. And the same thing for the bloody. I couldn't believe I did it again. Only for but.
We all make mistakes.
Well, yeah, we all make mistakes. But the point is that the world building and the way that everything is fleshed out, not just the characters, but the different creatures, and I just find it is second to none. It is so good.
Yeah, I think it teaches. The books, and the films, it sort of teaches generation after generation about world building. And there are those worlds like you mentioned Star Wars and Middle Earth and everything. Marvel, I guess, a little bit different because that's all happening, in our actual Earth or universe number, God knows what, but you know what I mean. But whereas those, Harry Potter is set in England, but it's about going to Hogwarts, which is in its own space. It's, Muggles can't find it. We can't find it. You're a Muggle. That's what it is.
That's right. And the bones of the story is like the chosen one and the hero's journey and all that kind of stuff. But the muscle and sinew and blood and flesh she puts around that is just, like I say, it is so good and so clever, and fair play to her for that. So, okay, that's your number 10. My number 10, I'm going for and I'm probably going to use Star Wars as a thing to, put up against it. I'm going to go for the Obi-Wan Kenobi Darth Vader fight. So Voldemort versus Dumbledore and Order of the Phoenix.
Right. Yeah.
It was just because it was kind of like, I can remember seeing the scenes. You see the book covers and stuff like that. And obviously not being a book reader, people saying, oh, there's this scene where this happens, there's this when this happens, and Voldemort and Dumbledore fight and stuff. So it's kind of like, well, that's the scene you want to see in Order of the Phoenix. And it's very similar to lightsaber fights because they have like sort of like hilts in their hands, and it's extruding this like different kind of colors, and they're trying to hit each other with it.
Yeah, probably similar age gap as well.
Probably very similar. And it was just one of those very cool moments where I love those any times when they're fighting or they're using the wands. I think it's very cool anyway. So, yeah, so I got that in mind with him.
It does look great. All the effects and like the fire versus water. And I mean, just at the very start, I'm pretty sure that's the first time that anyone calls Voldemort Tom to his face as well.
That's right, yeah.
And at that moment, you already know it, but you're like, yeah, Dumbledore's badass here. And everything's going to be fine. And it looks really good as well, doesn't it? It's CGI completely holds up, and that Dumbledore has spent that film being a dick as well.
Yes,
he really has, and it's okay. He's come through now, and we're still unhappy. And I think, that was a big show off. You kind of that could have probably gone on a bit longer, and you wouldn't be mad, would you?
No, not at all.
I mean, because then the third Fantastic Beast, there's a showdown, sort of, it's nowhere near on the same scale, but between Grindelwald, played by Mads Mikkelsen at this point, and Dumbledore, played by Jude Law. And you're thinking, shit, this is good. You might not know from not reading the books, but in Legend, there's a big battle between Dumbledore and Grindelwald. That's like, Wizarding World history. It's iconic. Yeah. You got that word in already.
Well done.
It's huge. And I was in the sort of thinking, wow, is this going to be it? But then it just kind of fizzles down as if they're sort of saying, right, we're going to save that just in case we can, wheedle out another film. I don't think they will.
No.
But yeah, no, that bit's it's fabulous. So I thought about it, and it's definitely a favourite among the fan base.
Cool. That's my number 10. So you're number 9 then, please, Doug.
So last time I spoke to you, we talked about our favourite British comedy characters, and I think you were a little bit surprised when I threw in Kenneth Branagh as Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yes,
but he's here again. I just think in Chamber of Secrets, he's my favourite thing in the film. Like you say, the kids haven't really learned to act. The rest of the cast, like Alan Rickman, Maggie Smith, etc., they can all act very well. But most of their highlights, come later in the films. But this, every time Kenneth Branagh's on screen as Gilderoy Lockhart, I think he just steals the show. He's the comedy relief that you need. This is a kids' film, but it's a kids' film where there's a big fuck off snake, running around, almost killing kids. So you need some light comic relief. And my favourite, this moment is kind of him in all of it, but it's when Harry's had his arm broken by the bludger playing Quidditch, and he comes down to fix it, and Harry's like, oh god, no. And he does this stupid spell, and he just really really exaggerates his pronunciation. He's like, Barakiam Mendo. It's me and one of my best friends, we just quote it to each other all the time, especially when we're pissed. And then it's this gross thing where the arm just kind of flops backwards, and just sort of wiggles around, and then Robbie Coltrane's there to say, "Broken, there's no bones left."
That's right.
And then he just before the end, he's like, "Oh, it's much more flexible though." I just think it's just hilarious. So yeah, that was always in my top 10. Admittedly, probably not that high. Right. Like not that close to number 1.
And that's that. Not it's that squishy noise when he's bending his arm as well. It's just like a bag of blood, isn't it? Oh, it's horrible.
Like it reminds me of like Stretch Armstrong. I think.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. Not exactly body horror, but not pleasant either.
No, but that is a good one. I did use that one on one of my.
Nose down, Harry.
That one was it? That one.
Broken. There's no bones left.
There you go.
Yeah. What a line.
Very good. Very good. Okay. That was your number 9. My number 9. Now Dolores Umbridge. Now this is a character. Order of the Phoenix is one of those kind of characters that makes me not want to watch a film. Even if I know what is, I know that at the end of it she's going to get a comeuppance, and eventually
not a nasty enough one.
No, but it ends up like stopping me wanting to watch that particular movie because she is so horrible, but in such a nice way. Not as in she's very sort of. Well, anyway, the part I've got is when she's punishing Harry
with the
liar.
Detention and I must not tell lies.
I must not tell lies, and it's all scratched on his arm and stuff. And it is a perfect thing. It's 1 minute where she's all very prim and proper, and she's all very she very rarely gets angry. And even I think there's a couple of moments where she does sort of lose her cool, but she manages to sort of keep herself. But she's also really, really vicious.
She is, Imelda Staunton, does that brilliantly. She'll like every now and again like shriek like enough.
Yeah.
Then she's straight back at that tempo again, and it's great. And you always have to remember hate the character, not the actress at times. Definitely with this one.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And also going back to sort of theme parks, the Epic Universe, which is in Florida at the moment, they've got their new. The Universal Studios Epic Universe. They've got the Harry Potter world in there. Have you seen any of that?
No. What? There's something Umbridge related in there, is there?
Yeah. So the ride there is all about when she has been taken to Azkaban or something. Now they haven't shown any of the ride yet.
No, I have.
So it's all to do with I think it's in the Fantastic Beasts. They're in Paris, but you go to the Ministry of Magic. And the ride there is supposed to be to do with Dolores Umbridge at Azkaban or something. So, so she goes to Azkaban, I guess, after the events of Deathly Hallows. I don't know if this is meant to happen in the films, but in the books, they get rid of the Dementors. Hopefully, they go extinct, but I doubt it. Right.
That'd just be too nice. But yeah, she's. A great villain. I always found it really hard. I think it's in the lesson. This is what leads to the detention. Actually, when she starts talking about Cedric Diggory being an accident, and we're all still traumatized for the events of late on in Goblet of Fire, and just got to be one of the best cast characters going. And then she comes back and is so evil in Deathly Hallows Part 1 as well. Great character, and I remember one of my friends pointed this out. This is a long time ago about how he finds her a worse villain than Voldemort because people can relate to bullies, and nasty teachers to some extent. Whereas it's a bit harder to relate to a terrorist, a fascist like Voldemort.
I think nasty teacher is a perfect. Everybody has a teacher that uses their power, if you like. Just to be a shit, just to
Greg
be someone...
Greg Davies in the In-Betweeners.
Yeah. They just love having that power. Yeah, but okay, that's my number 8. No, sorry, that's my number 9. Sorry, your number 8 now, please, Doug.
My number 8 is Neville kills Nagini, the snake.
Oh.
So this is kind of the end of Neville's character arc, and it's very close to the books. You know how this is done. And I just think I find at this point, I kind of find the snake almost more dangerous than Voldemort because I just stopped taking him seriously a little bit. Because by this point, he's done that stupid laugh like Harry Potter is dead. He's given Malfoy the awkward hug, which was like apparently, they did takes of that a few times and chose to leave that weird one in. But then, I mean, it just gets worse. And then he's up somewhere and he's like slapping Harry about. Harry's on the floor, and I think he just like whacks him. And he uses his robes to like, like big snakes to like lift Harry up. It's like watching Doctor Strange. It's like so weird. And I just sort of like, because he's quite vulnerable. There's no Horcruxes left, and I mean Nagini is the last one. So, but then the way they shot that is really clever, because the snake is, especially when you see it for the first time in the cinema, is like flying towards Ron and Hermione, mouth open, and then you don't see Neville until you see him just swing around and cut his head off. And I think that in the cinema was like, for us, I don't think we really cheered quite as much, but that was like Andrew Garfield turning up in No Way Home, or the portal scene in Avengers Game. That moment for Neville, and it's just Neville. It's not like generations of Spider-Man coming back, or all the Avengers ever coming back from the dead. It's just Neville killing a snake. It's fair play to him.
He was the unsung hero of the students, wasn't he? Really, on more than one occasion.
He was, yeah. I mean, in the books, he's the alternative chosen one. There's like a lot of, and what happens to his parents, which they don't explain, I think, that well in the films. To be honest, that's something they should probably try and do better in the series. He's a really interesting and tragic character, but it all comes back for him, and we were already rooting for him by then, because while Harry and Ron and Hermione have been on their adventure, he's been running the show. He's been rebellious. He's pissing off the Death Eaters, and he's getting battered and bruised, and he doesn't mind. So he's already become a bit of a hero. And then wham, take that snake.
Yeah,
AbraCadabra, not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a good one. Okay, that's your number 8. Gotta make sure I got that written down. My number 8, and this is, again, I'm probably going to mention Diagon Alley at Disney World quite a lot, because I've been in this place. So I've been at Ollivander's wand shop, and again, it's just wall-to-wall wands, like boxes of wands everywhere. And it's one of those places, and apart from the fact that the scene, this is when Harry picks his wand. That's the scene that I like, because John Hurt is just fantastic. And anything again that looks like it's, I mean, he's taking these wands out of their little paper, with all covered in dust. So they've been there for probably hundreds of years, and he's blowing the dust off and chooses one, and it doesn't work, and then chooses the one, and then all of a sudden the lights, and it's the one that he's going on about each wand, about what they're made from and what feather is inside it and all of that. I love that kind of detail.
He remembers every wand he's ever sold. Like to a T. Fair play to him.
And the wand chooses the wizard, and all of that kind of lore that comes in with it.
He must have across the 2 films that he's in, about 4 minutes screen time or something.
Yeah,
and yet you don't forget either of those. It goes quite nicely, full circle. It's all about the wand when he's giving Harry his first, selling him his first wand. And then in Deathly Hallows it's at the start of part 2, isn't it? Yeah. He's talking about the wand, and speaking to Harry after 7 years of, growing up. And I'm really glad, R.I.P. John Hurt, but he did live to act in Deathly Hallows. He's briefly in part 1, isn't he? Yeah. Saw it right through to the end.
He did. And it's, I think John Hurt's such a great actor. One of those ones that can kind of do everything as well. He was just could do anything, but so I put that in there as my number 8. So your number 7 then, please, Doug. Okay. No duplicates yet.
No, I did wonder if this might be one. So I've got this is Deathly Hallows Part 1, and it is the Tale of the Three Brothers.
Oh, yeah, this was very close to being in my top 10. Very close.
Yeah. So this was like actually in and out, and then I rewatched it. I was like, no, it's there. The animation is beautiful. Emma Watson reads it beautifully, because she can actually act at this point. And it does really take you out of the plot and the chaos of what's going on in the actual film, and it's just a fable. and you know, the characters look great. They look a bit kind of Nightmare Before Christmassy to me. You can only really see the silhouettes, and it sets things up really nicely for the finale. And if you're watching the films without having read the books, it's nice and digestible, but also very, very intense and intriguing. And then if you have read the books and you're going into it, you're like, right, they've stuck to this absolutely word for word. So, you know, both parties are happy. Nothing's been missed out. And it's, you know, an allegory for Harry and Snape and Voldemort, dying for power in Voldemort, Snape dying for love, and Harry greeting death as an old friend, just accepting it. So, yeah, it's great writing as well.
Yeah. And like you say, it's a beautifully shot sequence. Like you say, it's like a silhouette show, isn't it? It's like they're stick figures and
yeah. And at one point, I think the death figure has like he's like a puppet master, isn't he?
Mm.
He like sort of lifts his puppets out of the scene, out of the world.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else like that in the whole franchise, so I think it stands out nicely as well.
Yeah, that was very close to being in my top 10, but unfortunately didn't quite make it. So, and that was Deathly Hallows Part 1, that was, wasn't it?
That's Part 1, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I think, wasn't that when didn't she, with Rhys Ifans, wasn't that the part when she was with him?
He's there, yeah.
Because they're talking about the Deathly Hallows, aren't they?
Yeah, he's another one, you know, minimal screen time, but how wonderfully played.
Yeah.
I mean, and talking of great casting, I mean, Luna Lovegood just absolutely blows out of the park.
Yeah,
she's so good.
Yeah.
I was reading a bit on Reddit about this scene when I was sort of putting my notes together. And on Reddit, it was a mixture of the films and the books. And in the books, they go into Luna's room. And to be honest, this might be in the film, I just not noticed it. And she'd drawn a mural of her, Harry, Ron, and Hermione on the ceiling, like with the caption "Friends." Like,
oh, right.
That needs to make it into the bloody HBO series. Come on.
Yeah. These are those little nuggets that I'm sure that a lot, again, people that have bought the books and read the books that are passionate about those little moments are probably heartbroken when they're not in the movies.
Yeah. I mean, like I was saying earlier about having seen All Eight in the cinema, I think the stuff that the first two miss out because they're much smaller books, I think is fine. But from then onwards, yeah, there's so many that they need to sort of dig out again.
Wasn't it the first movie that Rick Mayall was supposed to be in? He was a character in the
Peeves, yeah.
And it got cut out.
Poltergeist, yeah. And if you had, and I remember around the similar time it came out on PS1, and they did keep Peeves in the game, probably not, voiced by Rick Mayall. But he's chaos, but he's quite a big character.
Oh, really?
Ways he's not that big for the plot, but he's a kind of like a bit. He's obviously just very mischievous and chaotic. And I think, you know what, we'll just let Fred and George do all that stuff.
Oh, right.
And you don't need the special effects of another ghost type thing as well.
Yeah. Okay.
R.I.P. Rick Mayall as well.
Yeah, indeed. That was your number 7. My number 7, I'm going for The Goblet of Fire and When Harry Returns with Cedric's Body.
Oh, no, you haven't.
I have.
Oh, I don't want to think about that. Go on.
And again, I think it's the thing that gets me with that is obviously the fact that, oh God, I don't remember the name of the character when he's like saying, no, he's not back. He's not back. But it's
the minister.
Yes.
Yeah. That is Robert Hardy.
Robert Hardy, that's right.
Yeah.
But when Cedric's dad realizes that his son is like led on the floor, it's a scream. Because funny, because my son was taking the piss out of it before I came in and was going, "Oh, my boy." But that really gets me. It really gets me because it's these agonizing wails of despair because he sees his son just lying strewn on the floor like dead, and it's like, that's that cold shiver down my spine again, but for completely different reasons.
They went. I mean, Jeff Rawle, who plays the dad, that's the best performance in the film. Even though it's 10 seconds, it's incredible. So hard to watch, so dark, so upsetting, and interesting. That isn't in the book at all.
Right.
in the book, you don't see the parents find out. He visits, both his mum and dad are there, and he just visits them and says his condolences and stuff. But so this whole idea of the dad finding out there and then on screen, that was written by the screenwriters.
Oh, right.
And yeah, he just gives this so ridiculously, powerful emotional performance. It's yeah. I know what you mean. It is an amazing moment just for sad reasons.
Yeah.
And at this point, you're like, fuck this. These films are not kids' films anymore.
I think that was the moment, because I prefer the later movies because they're a lot more darker and they feel a lot more grown up, because obviously the three main kids are a lot more grown up. But I think that's the moment where I'm sort of fully in then, because this isn't about chocolate frogs and butterbeer. This is about life and death, and this is about how I mean, Ralph Fiennes is great as Voldemort. I think he's another one of those actors that can do anything.
Yeah,
you can't imagine that is the same guy that's in Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh, indeed.
Or the same guy that is M in the Bond movies. He's just an amazing actor. So it's now that he's fully formed, it's like this guy is nasty.
It's getting real. Yeah.
And this isn't going to end good. This isn't going to end good for anybody.
Yeah. But there's a line from Hermione right towards the end where she says everything's going to change now.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the studio is like, yes, it is. Yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
10 points to Gryffindor. Yeah.
Okay, then your number 6, then, please.
Right then. So my number 6 is from the Philosopher's Stone. It is when it's the arrival at Hogwarts. It's that first shot when they're in the boats in the lake, and John Williams has a full choir going on, and the camera like points up, and you see the castle. And if I just stick that on Netflix now, I'll get goosebumps on demand. So that moment in particular, but then kind of there's a little bit in between where you first meet Malfoy, which is great. I'll talk about Malfoy a bit more later, but he's just in little shit mode. Definitely think he's the best of the child actors in the end.
Oh yeah,
by a mile, to be honest. So there's that, and then into the Great Hall, which is another special thing. Seeing the Great Hall, which is so prominent in all the films, sort of right up to the Sorting Hat scene. Not that I don't also love that, but this could go on indefinitely. But that just first shot of Hogwarts, just mind blowing. That's the kind of welcome to Jurassic Park moment.
Yeah. Man, for someone like you who's a big Harry Potter fan, you have got to get to the Harry Potter Studios tour, the tour in Watford, because when you walk through into the Great Hall, you're literally I don't know how you are emotionally, but you will feel the emotions there.
I'm not. I'll never be ready. I just need to take the plunge.
Yeah, and then at the end of it, when you see the full-size Hogwarts castle that they used for filming, it's breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. The detail in it. I've said about detail in this before. It's just those kind of moments that you just... Words can't express what it's like when you go in and see it physically, and you think this is the stuff. Even the costumes, they have them all in there in the Great Hall. I think, oh God, these are the ones they actually use. It's crazy.
There's like a Warwick Davis full exhibition almost, isn't there? Because he plays like a goblin, 2 different versions of Flitwick. Now, what they were thinking of the first one, I don't know. It's so on my to-do list. Just need to pull my finger out.
Absolutely.
My sister actually told me recently, her and her boyfriend are moving to Barcelona because he's got a job out there, so that will speed up the process of sealing in a date. And it'll be really nice to go with her because that was kind of our childhood. And there's definitely, when she listens to this, she'll be fuming. There's certain scenes that I don't like. No, they're your scenes. These are mine.
Exactly. And also, it's at Leavesden Studios, which is where they filmed The Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace was filmed on those stages, or where you're walking around. They would have been where they filmed The Phantom Menace.
So I'll be at one with the Force while I'm in Hogwarts.
Absolutely, you will.
Oh, well, fuck.
Okay, my number 6. I'm going for Prisoner of Azkaban and the Dementors on the train.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm the sort of iconography, if you like, of things like ghosts and stuff. Although I don't believe in ghosts, but when you see that kind of the floating ghoul kind of thing, it always gives me the willies. And then when I first saw the Dementors, I thought, especially the noises that they make and stuff, brilliant design, because they look scary, and the fact of what they can do to people. So the fact that the way that they sort of float around and stuff, it's just, it had to be in there for me. It's probably a little bit, looking at it with some of the other things I've got in there, maybe it's a little bit higher than it should be. But just in, like I say, in regards to in production design, the Dementors were like very, very scary for me.
That first bit on the train, I think you just see in the trailer, you just see the hand just sort of opening the door up, and it's all wrinkled and scabbed and stuff. It's petrifying.
Yeah.
I think Prisoner of Azkaban's a 12. I think was it the first one to maybe be a 12? It has to be, right?
Yeah, it has to be.
There's some dark stuff in there. And I mean, they are just the most horrible things about Harry Potter. What, like you say, what they're capable of. But also because you don't really ever see them properly. You keep imagining, it's fear of imagination. It's like one long cloaked xenomorph.
Yes.
All the way. And
that's more scary than anything they can put on the screen as well.
All the water turns to ice, and you can see your breath in front of you, and it's even scary when he's learning to do Patronus. So it's not a real one; it's just a boggart. But that's scary enough.
Yeah.
It's a great one. I think it's not in mine because I just hate thinking about the Mentors, but it's a very brilliantly done scene. And very important part of the films. Yeah,
it is. Okay, we're halfway through, so it's time for this
pop quiz, hot shot.
Now I'm expecting 10 out of 10. To be fair,
depends how.
A, because you are a quiz expert. B, it's Harry Potter, and you've obviously got a lot of knowledge. And C, you're Doug Simpson.
Well, but on the I don't know about the third, but Quizmaster, not quiz doer. I write a lot, and I have run Harry Potter quizzes quite a few times. I've not done one for quite a few years because last time, the crowd that are in just weren't big drinkers.
Oh, right.
There's one team that between 5 of them ordered 1 Diet Coke all night.
Oh my god!
Like, you think I'm doing this for fun? Avada disqualified, motherfucker. No. Like we're a business. We all mean to have fun at the same time. Let's give it a go.
Okay, well, they're just 10 Harry Potter questions. So I think you should be getting a good amount of these. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Number 1. Which broomstick does Harry Potter receive in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone?
Nimbus 2000.
Oh, shit, I pressed the wrong one. Sorry, no, that was correct.
All right.
Well done. 1 out of 1. Number 2. In which movie is Luna Lovegood introduced?
That is Order of the Phoenix.
All right.
2 for 2. Number 3 is a nice easy one. Which magical suite comes with collectible cards displaying famous witches and wizards?
A chocolate frog. Wonder how if they've risen if they've gone up in inflation with Freddo's, the other chocolate frog.
Well, I mean, they're expensive enough as it is when you want to try and buy one. I'll tell you, they are expensive bits of chocolate. When you,
but at least you get a card.
You do get a card, yes. Number 4. How many Horcruxes did Voldemort create intentionally?
Oh, okay. 7 then.
Can you name them?
Oh, all right then. So there's the diary.
Correct.
There's the ring.
Correct.
There's the locket.
Correct.
There's the cup.
Correct.
There's the snake.
Correct.
So that's 5. There's Ravenclaw's diadem.
Correct.
Right, and so okay, so the locket got done by the sword out of the lake, and the Hang on a minute, right? So the ring. So hang on, right? So there was one for each house. There's the Hufflepuff cup, the Ravenclaw diadem, and then the ring, the diary, the snake. I'm already losing track of what I've said here.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you the point because you've named them all. So there was only 6. There were 6 that were intentionally created.
Splitting the soul into 7.
Yeah, was the 7th one. So you got it right because you named them all. So that was, and you named them all exactly the same order I've got them written here. So that's very impressive.
Oh, smash it.
Well done. Okay, number 5.
I know where it's Jim Broadbent. Merlin's beard, Tom, to split the soul into 7 pieces. That's of course it is.
Well done. What is the name of the magical map that shows the entire layout of Hogwarts?
The Marauders map.
Is correct. He's 5 for 5.
PB.
Number 6. What is Harry's middle name?
That is James.
Wow, this could be.
All right.
He's on for it. What position does Harry play in Quidditch?
He is a classic number 9. He's a seeker.
All right.
Is correct. That's 7. What is Hermione's cat's name?
Hermione, Crookshanks.
Is correct.
All right.
2 to go. I think he's going to do it, you know. Where was Harry Potter born?
In Godric's Hollow.
Is correct.
All right.
Is correct. Now, let me see if I've got... I've got it, yeah, right. And for a full 10 out of 10. Bless you. A full 10 out of 10. What children's book contains the story of the Deathly Hallows?
The Tales of Beedle the Bard.
Well done. 10 out of 10. Only our second guest to ever get the full 10.
Oh, thank God for that.
That is impressive.
The last 2 quizzes I've done, there was one with you, one with Neil. I don't think I even got that in the 2 quizzes combined. It's nice to be back.
It's nice to be back. See what I mean? Look, he's a quiz. He's just he's a quiz genius. He's a quiz icon, is what we're going to say. Well done.
Wow, that's me, OWL nailed.
Well, that's very impressive.
Oh,
I mean, I would have trouble with a couple of them for definite, but well done.
Yeah, I mean, I wobbled on the Horcruxes. Did the bloody hard bit right?
No, I think you named them. So I was going to give you that, but 10 out of 10. Well done. That's all I can say.
Much.
Okay, back to the job in hand. So let's have your number 5, please.
Right, so you might have this. I've kind of gone for Draco Malfoy in Half-Blood Prince. Kind of him overall, but there is a specific moment. Because this is just, I mean, like I was saying about how good our actor Tom Felton is, he takes it up several notches in this one because he goes from just being the little shithead bully boy, you know, the Nelson Muntz, whatever, to really having to pull it out of the bag and put in a really emotional performance as Malfoy because he has so much pressure. It's the pressure of his family and also just the task at hand. And he's not his father, basically, and he's been treated like shit, brought up like shit. Admittedly, you know, obviously very spoiled, but you know, similar to how Harry was brought up, there's more similarities than they kind of realize. And the kind of peak of it all is the death of Albus Dumbledore.
That's my number 3.
Is it
so
right?
The death of Dumbledore is my number 3. So
yeah,
we will class that one as a duplicate. But I completely agree with you. Yeah.
He's got tears in his eyes, and it's also probably his most iconic kind of quote. It's been memed a lot. Like, I feel like when I have to go to work and my cat's looking at me all sad, I'm like, don't you understand? I have to do this so that I can buy your cat food.
Yeah. No, it's and the thing is, when you watch it again after watching Deathly Hallows 1 and 2, you watch that whole scene completely differently. Because Dumbledore knows what he's got to do, but in a different way to Draco knows what he has to do, even though he doesn't actually do it in the end, and Snape knows what he has to do. So all these people know what they have to do, but they have to do it for different reasons. And then Harry Potter's the only one watching from from underneath, who's got no idea what's going on and just watching it at face value.
Yeah, and building up all that hatred for Snape in the process. I mean, he's got that in big supply already.
Yeah.
But then this is another one of those moments that kind of shocks you, and the way Dumbledore kind of falls in slow motion, and there's a beautiful bit just afterwards where they all raise their wands.
Yeah.
And the dark mark goes away. But yeah, that whole thing, that whole performance from Tom Felton is stunning, and it's what he's been trying to do, but he's been having such a horrible time throughout the film. And there's that incredible bit where Harry uses Snape's spell and he's covered in blood and stuff, and so much he manages to get you to sort of generate so much sympathy for Draco Malfoy, even though he spent 5 films previous to this just being awful.
Yeah.
So yes, as far as like the younger cast go, it's probably the standout performance of the films for me. And it's I mean, Dumbledore just knows everything.
Yeah,
like, I think he's the puppet master, but a very, very good one. And yeah, an incredible kind of just the kind of you see Hogwarts getting fucked up as well, like Bellatrix running through, trashing it and things, and all the time you can just see Draco running behind him with he's terrified. He's still terrified because he hasn't done his job. He hasn't actually killed Dumbledore, so he doesn't actually know how much trouble he's in as well. He's a terrified schoolboy. Yeah.
No, that's a good one. Yeah, so that's our first duplicate. My number 5 is from Philosopher's Stone, and it's when we meet Hagrid for the first time.
Great.
And I think that was the very first clip I ever saw. You're a wizard, Harry, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a great, and again, R.I.P. Robbie Coltrane. He's not with us anymore either.
Indeed.
But it's definitely is one of those. The whole thing of Hagrid as a character, with the fact that he's this big, 8 foot tall or whatever it is, like man mountain, but as causes all of his pets these silly sort of Fluffy and all these different names, and he's just a beautiful soul. Hagrid. And one thing I always wanted to see him really lose his temper, go on some kind of Hulk like rampage.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he must.
Smash.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to have seen that, but even right at the end, when it's the whole forest scene in Deathly Hallows Part 2, he's got, he's in chains and he's succumbed to them. He's obviously been beaten and battered down. You never really see him really sort of giving it to anybody.
I think his most angry moment is in this scene that you're talking about, when Vernon Richard Griffiths, again R.I.P., slags off Dumbledore, and he's like, "You fucking what?"
Yeah, exactly.
And does the spell on Dudley, and and that scene's probably a few minutes long. And straight away, you've got a legend. You've got a fan favorite. I can remember watching Robbie Coltrane interviewed on Jonathan Ross around that time, and then they just showed him literally the bit where he walks through the door, and he's all big and bulky, and that dramatic music and whatnot, and then you just see him as like, "Sorry about that," and he is. I mean, he's also a very funny actor. In Harry Potter, you've got half the cast of Blackadder. You've got Jim Broadbent, Miriam Margolyes, Miranda Richardson. Stephen Fry's not in the films, but he's largely associated, having read the audiobooks.
That's right.
There's so much British talent on show.
Yeah, you could have had Rick Mail as well if he hadn't been cut out. Lord Flashheart would have been there. Okay, so that's my number 5. So your number 4 then, please, Doug.
Cool. So mine is Order of the Phoenix. I'm kind of got me thinking what you're saying about Umbridge. So this moment is the Dumbledore's army montage. So when they find the room of requirement and he starts teaching them, and they're doing all the lessons, and Filch and Umbridge, trying to crack the case and sort of getting nowhere. because up until this point in the film, it's hard to watch how alone Harry is and how people sort of have lost faith in him and think he's crazy. But then there's this group that actually start following him and see him as a leader again, which is really special. I also like that the room requirement has these dummies that, when you're practicing your spells that you can aim at. Like that's just for the video game, like shamelessly so, has to be. But it is what they need to practice. Neville gets a little moment. Ron gets, knocked out by Hermione's spell, and Fred and George have had a bet on. It's just loads of great little moments together. But it's kind of one scene as well, so I'm going to count it as one moment.
Just out of interest, what's your favourite book?
Same as film, Goblet of Fire.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it was Prisoner of Azkaban for a long time, but I just recent rewatches. I mean, I love them both, but Goblet of Fire just about edges it. I mean, it is very, very close. You find this on your pod all the time. I know it. Today it's Goblet of Fire, but in a couple of weeks it might go back to Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to make a note of that. Goblet of Fire. Okay. Lovely. That's your number 4. My number 4 is one of the moments when I read the Deathly Hallows, and it's the death of Dobby.
Oh God!
Now, obviously, you're not going for sad moments, are you, tonight?
No.
I mean, maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see. But Dobby was one of those characters that, like, everybody obviously fell in love with when he first appeared and was set free. And I thought it was brilliantly done, the way it was done in the movie.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it's just one of those things. I mean, it's Toby Jones did the voice for Dobby, wasn't it?
He did, yeah. When we see what Toby Jones does, another actor who can just do anything,
yeah,
and kill it. It is a beautiful scene, definitely, like on the beach. And what I like is something they didn't do in the books. Is there's an earlier scene where you see Dobby with Creature, and he's just interrupting Creature, not letting him get a word in, and just being really funny again. So you get a nice bit with him to enjoy the character again.
Yeah.
Having read the books, if they just brought him back for that scene, it's like, okay, he's here, he's come to the rescue, and he's like, can you operate in and out of it? He's like, yeah, I'm an elf, obviously, obvs. But then you kind of know what's coming, so it's nice that you got to enjoy him again in a scene before, what is about to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it is one of those sad moments, and apparently that part of that beach now is a place that a lot of people go, a lot of Harry Potter fans go and leave things on the beach for Dobby and stuff. But
yeah, no, well, once I've done the studios, maybe that's where I'll go next.
R.I.P. Dobby. Okay, then, your number 3, then, please.
Number 3. So I've titled this Sirius Black, Shrieking Shack. So that whole scene where Harry meets Sirius Black properly for the first time, he's sort of already met him in dog form, as it were. But in this scene, so I just need to blow my nose. This scene, I'm not crying, I've just got a cold.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, all right, say that if you want.
Yeah, I should have said that at the start, just in case. So
we just happened to talk about the death of Dobby, and all of a sudden you need to sneeze.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, our voice isn't in husky mode tonight. Never going to get away with that. Yeah. So this was my introduction to Gary Oldman, who's now one of my favorite actors. And just when the door swings by and you just see him in his disheveled prison robes and his long coat, he just looks badass. He looks menacing. He looks like a villain. And there's a lot that isn't really covered about how things became how they were with the history of Peter Pettigrew and the betrayal of Harry's parents and etc. But I think they get the balance really well. And I think then I forget off the top of my head, I forget which order it is, but Lupin enters the scene, David Thewlis, and then Alan Rickman comes in as Snape, and you've just got these three just acting so well and having a verbal fight and sort of just like they were schoolboys again. And then Timothy Spall comes through as Peter Pettigrew gets revealed, and I just love the drama of it, the big reveal. Harry, you can see it's the best acting that they've done so far. Obviously, they are getting better by this point, the child actors.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You can see him learning to trust Sirius. It's, you know, he shouts. Ron won't have a word of it because he just thinks it's his pet rat. And it's Harry that says to Ron, you know, give him to him. Let's see what he's got to say for himself. And I love it in the books, and it's one of the ones that I think they did pretty much perfectly in the films as well.
What do you think about? I always felt that when Sirius Black, again spoilers, when Sirius Black dies.
Oh, stop it!
Yeah, but it didn't. It didn't seem to for me to have the same emotional hit that I thought it should have had. For me personally,
yeah.
I don't know. What about you?
Well, I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So it was something, you know. It's like, you know, there's maybe a tiny little bit of me that thought, oh, maybe they'll just change the plot of the entire books and let him live. But no, it's funny how he goes out being killed by Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
That's the moment when, you know, say what you said about Umbridge scarring Harry with the detention thing earlier. When Bellatrix kills Sirius, it's like, right, boom, you've got a villain. You know, this is it now. Harry and Sirius were gonna live together. He was gonna get his life back. He's already spent half his life in jail. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the best death in the franchise. It's quite a peculiar one because he disappears, and it's a bit mysterious. You don't really know quite what that means.
Yeah.
But then, to be fair, in that same scene, I think Harry's reaction, because you can see Daniel Radcliffe screaming, but there's no sound. You know, there's a bit of music, but you can't hear him actually screaming. And I think Daniel Radcliffe's performance just about makes up for the fact that it's a bit of a strangely filmed death, if you like.
Yeah.
I think it just about does it justice.
I agree.
But yeah, it's not the most emotionally hard hitting. You've already covered that with Dobby.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, my number 3 was Death of Dumbledore. So back to you for your number 2.
So my number 2 is actually just before the scene you mentioned earlier of Cedric. It's Voldemort Returns. I think this is brilliant. We've always touched on Ralph Fiennes here. When he forms, you know, his body forms and he takes full shape. Just if you're watching it and pause it just before you see his full head, it's the frame when he hasn't quite got any ears yet. That's what I would have liked Voldemort to look like because it's terrifying. It's more snake-like. Looks like more of a reptile. I went originally in drafts of the Voldemort costume. He was going to have red eyes, which I think is what he has in the books. And I think Mike Newell said that to display emotion with red eyes is really hard. So actually, they've just probably got Ralph Fiennes' eyes maybe a bit lighter, a bit colder, whatever. They've not gone red. But the shot of him just taking shape, that split second is I always think about. But then that whole scene when he comes back and the Death Eaters return, and Jason Isaacs, have to mention another amazing part of this. He turns up and he's seeing his boss of 13 years ago who's thoroughly pissed off at him. And he still drags it out and makes a silly speech about how the face he's had all these years while Voldemort's been in hiding is his true mask, and says it so elegantly. Admittedly, it's not that funny because shit's hitting the fan at this moment in time. But yeah, Return of Voldemort, I think they did superbly.
That's a great one. I don't think there's a more scarier villain, to be fair, than Voldemort. And a lot of that's to do with Ralph Fiennes' performance anyway.
Yeah,
the voice. You mentioned earlier when he gives Draco that sort of non-hug.
Yeah,
it's the look on that kind of look on his face, isn't it? Like showing this ounce of like tenderness is absolutely killing him. He doesn't mean it. He doesn't want to do it. I mean that is a good one.
Yeah, I think it does sort of work. I just at that point I didn't want to be laughing in the cinema. Everyone was laughing.
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason it does make sense. You're right. I just didn't want to be feeling. There are other moments to laugh in Harry Potter. Although, do you know what? Thinking about it, in Deathly Hallows Part 2, there's probably not that much funny at all.
Not really. I don't think, no.
So, yeah, no. Maybe it was essential.
Okay, right, my number 2. Now I'm going to call an audible here. I've never done this before, and I'm going to swap my 1 and 2.
Right.
So it does mean that we have got another duplicate, because my number 2 is going to be when Neville kills Nagini.
Okay.
So that's going to be my number 2. So we've got that as our second duplicate. And obviously we've spoken about that one. So before we reveal our number 1s, if you want to give us a rundown of your 10 to 2, I'll do the same, and then we'll reveal our number 1 choices.
All right, then. Number 10 was Harry flying on Buckbeak. Number 9, Kenneth Branagh. I'm just going to say that. Gilderoy Lockhart, Brachiamimendo. Number 8, Neville killing the snake. Number 7, The Tale of the Three Brothers. Number 6, Arrival at Hogwarts. Number 5, Death of Dumbledore. Number 4, Dumbledore's Army. Number 3, Sirius Black Shrieking Shack. And number 2, Voldemort Returns.
Wonderful. And mine is number 10, Voldemort versus Dumbledore. 9, Dolores Umbridge punishes Harry. 8, Ollivander's Wand Shop. 7, Harry returns with Cedric's body. 6, Dementors on a train. 5, we meet Hagrid. 4, the death of Dobby. 3, the death of Dumbledore. 2, Neville kills the snake. So, Doug, if we've got this the same, then you win Lisa's challenge.
Oh, okay. So my number 1 is the end of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets when Hagrid comes back from Azkaban.
Oh, okay. Well, then we haven't got that. Okay.
We haven't. Never mind. That's fine. can't win them all. So this was pretty much always going to be my number 1, because I can still shed a tear. I don't think I even need to watch the whole film. I think I can just skip to the last 10 minutes or something. If you've watched the last 10 minutes, you probably also get Dobby is free thrown in as well. But yeah, I just love this bit so much, because Hagrid has had already a really tough life. You find out in this film that he was framed and, expelled and whatnot. And the way that line, and this was repeated so much on the internet when Robbie Coltrane passed away, there's no Hogwarts without you, Hagrid. And then he gives him the hug. So that's already, you're already getting going. And then I think it's McGonagall and Dumbledore stand up and start clapping. And then I'm tearing up thinking just saying it to you.
Oh no, it's just you've got a cold.
I've got a cold. Yeah, that's it. I've got a cold. I've got a cold. And all the students are like diving in to shake his hand, and just stunning shot of them all running up to him. And then the camera kind of pans out over the teacher's table, out of Hogwarts and away from the castle. And that is goodbye to Columbus first at that point. You've almost got a 2-part proper Christmassy, family-friendly bit done and dusted. See you later.
Yeah, that's a great one. I didn't even think of that moment, to be fair. I mean, that's kind of similar to the moment in the first movie when I'm terrible with names. When Neville gets the points that wins them the House Cup.
Yeah, completely.
It's those kind of that always gives me a little bit of a flutter in the heart. That moment, because it's just, and the guy that plays Neville is brilliant acting on that, and he's only a little kid then. He's sort of the look of like, what's ever,
what just happened?
Yeah, he can't quite believe it that he's the hero of it, because he stood up for his house and stood up for his friends. But yeah, that's a great moment. That really is. And again, it's always bittersweet watching it now because of like Robbie Coltrane's not with us anymore, and. Yeah.
But if you look at the front cover, the poster of Philosopher's Stone, you've now lost Maggie Smith passing away. Last year, so they're all passed on now. That original sort of core cast. I feel like we've not really had enough McGonagall in this episode, but there's just so many to name.
Well, top 10 McGonagall moments, I'm sure is one of them.
Easy.
Talking again about somebody that isn't with us anymore. My number 1, I'm going for the whole part of Snape's death.
Yeah.
So from the moment when Voldemort actually kills him to the moment when Harry catches his tears and then gets the full story of why everything has been the way it has, why Dumbledore has done this, why Snape was like he was, all of the things during all of the episodes, all of the movies, the reason why Snape was like he was to Harry, and it was all for a reason. It was to protect him and make sure that he was he was where he needed to be at that particular time to be able to kill, to kill Voldemort, to kill the main bad guy.
Yeah.
And I thought that Alan Rickman is just fantastic in this episode, in this scene specifically, because it's all coming out. He just wants Harry to catch the tears so that you can find out what the truth is, what the whole point of it is. And it's the turn in the story where there's no more lies now. Harry knows what he has to do. He knows why he has to do it. He has to come up with a thing that he knows that he has to go and meet Voldemort,
Forest,
and die. He has to go and die.
Yeah, has to accept it, and the resurrection stone will open because it's the close.
Exactly, and all of those little bits, all those stories, and the little bits that have been left hanging, or everything, all just gets resolved, and all the answers are there. And it's a great bit of storytelling. It's a great bit of writing. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, well, when Alan Rickman passed away, the quote that came out for that was all over the internet was just the word "always," and that's all you need.
Yeah,
wait, that's his last line. After 8 films of being ever present and a hero and antagonist and everything in between, and he is also quite funny. He has some funny lines throughout. When Umbridge interviews him and she's like, you didn't get the Defense Against the Dark Arts gig, obviously. He can do everything.
And that voice, I mean, there's no voice like his. There really isn't. And again, that's Hans Gruber.
It is.
You can't. Yeah. He doesn't look the same in any of his movies. But the fact that same guy that plays this very stoic and very just like stiff teacher is also the suave, sophisticated Hans Gruber. It's just crazy as a great actor.
Oh, everything, yeah. I mean, Love Actually, Robin Hood, bloody Alice in Wonderland as the he's the cat, the Cheshire Cat, is he? Or he's the caterpillar, I think.
Yeah, Galaxy Quest as well. He's the alien in Galaxy. Yeah, it's mind-boggling, really is. Right, we've got some honourable mentions. Simple Tan Morin said, the moment Harry gets a family album, when Harry's parents come out and help to empower his spell, the moment Harry realises his Patronus, watching Sirius die, and lastly, Mrs. Weasley, the not my daughter, you bitch. It's a Ripley moment in the fantasy world and the feeling I get if anyone threatens my kids. At G.R. Dix, author says Neville standing up to Voldemort and his crew in the last film. He's the real hero. Kim Thomas Simons says, having just seen Harry Potter's and the Cursed Child at the Pantages Theatre, I'm into my Harry Potter feels. Honestly, the scene that always gets the biggest cheer from me is when Neville kills Nagini.
There we go.
Brandy Ray de Leon says, one of my favourite scenes is in Deathly Hallows when everybody is drinking Polyjuice potion. After Fred and George finish changing into Harry Potter, they turn to each other and say, we're identical. As if they weren't identical twins before changing. It makes me giggle every time. At Hogwarts a Pod on Blue Sky said, my favourite movie moment would be when Dobby rescues them from Malfoy Manor. He has 2 epic quotes. One was actually in the book, but the other wasn't, so it's my favourite movie line. Dobby never meant to kill. Dobby only meant to maim or seriously injure. He says, paraphrased. Makes me laugh every time. Jan Lerner DeFeo said, I have so many, but number 1 is Neville cutting the head off Nagini with the sword of Gryffindor. Close second is Mrs. Weasley saying, not my daughter, you bitch, as she fights and ultimately kills Bellatrix. Now, I'm going to get this name wrong, but Heo Karen Sai Compton. Apologies if that is wrong. I love the Half-Blood Prince movie, and when the library in the library, Harry declares, "But I am the chosen one," and Hermione smacks his head. Ha ha. Nikki Dennis said in the Deathly Hallows one, Harry and Hermione dancing, the magical tent, they've been through so much together, Harry reaching out to comfort Hermione and himself, and the heart-wrenching Nick Cave song in contrast to the usual musical score played on the radio. And Dylan's story says, I like when the blonde brunette girl that likes Ron in 3 or 4. Now, which one? What's the name?
6, Lavender Brown.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
Is sitting by him as he's unconscious in the bed, and he says Hermione when he wakes up instead of her name, so she runs out crying, and Dumbledore says, "Ah, the cruel sting of young love," give or take a few words. Thank you very much for all of those. We did it, Doug.
We did.
We
This
did
chief
it.
managed.
And you, it's very good. And you got your 10 out of 10 as well.
Ah, that is sweet.
I mean, that is very, very sweet.
At this very second, Liverpool Newcastle's just kicked off. So
was it?
I don't know if this grin's going to last very long, but I'm grinning right now.
Well, let's wait and see. But look, it doesn't matter what happens tonight. I hope you guys win the cup in 2 weeks' time. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me back. That was fun.
Well, once again, thank you very much for your support, mate. And as always, it means the absolute world to us. Please come back again, and we'll find something else fun to do.
Top 10 McGonagall moments. Let's do that. Why not?
We'll do it.
And
yeah, everybody else, remember to listen to Neil's dulcet tones at the end of the episode to give us all your social media gubbins and email and Patreon, and just to let you all know, obviously we've got the new mini series that's there for my top 10 movies. I think it was supposed to be coming out every 2 weeks, but we're going to see. I haven't quite worked out all that yet, but you get them a few days early, the same as the normal episodes, and everything else if you come and join us on Patreon at patreon.com/top10pods. Once again, Doug, absolute legend.
Thank you so much, mate.
Thank you, mate. And thank you very much, everybody else, for watching and listening. And let's go start the countdown. Come on, you Reds.